Final Fantasy XIII-2. The story so far.
Kupo! We have to figure out the labyrinth.
You'll be sure to arrive in the future you want. This must be the eclipse.
You know what this is?
No?
Okay, so I think it would take longer to explain all of the things that, or even to summarize all of the things that were not explained by that recap, than it would to watch that thing 3 times. And it's not as though this scroll is explaining much either.
Right, so who's ready? We're going to Oerba to solve we're going to the complete opposite side of Pulse to solve a mystery 200 years later. Sounds good?
Good.
I'm down.
Alright, let's do it.
By the way, I think the narrator for these is Fang, or at least her voice actor.
You know, something looks different.
Yeah. Is it her hair?
Oh, you know what? It's the new windmills. The Academy must have replaced them.
Yeah, that's totally...
You know, I was in the video for this in the original 13. This doesn't look like that.
Yeah, it's all like space and shit.
Something's not right here, Kupo.
Well, it's a good thing that we have Sarah cosplaying as Commander Shepard. We are ready to tackle this.
And by tackle, you of course mean... wait, what do you of course mean?
Well, I mean, we're going to solve puzzles.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, puzzles is a little strong for what we're actually going to be doing.
I have a great big enormous rant saved up for this game's bullshit puzzle, but this is not it. This is just filler.
Yeah, so the way this one works, as soon as it loads up here...
It's like a maze. A crossroads within the paradox itself.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
In this space-time, the past and future intersect.
Well, we're just saying words now.
With all these puzzles, we could dissolve the current paradox.
But if the past and the future are intersecting, then how can the current paradox even be a phrase that has meaning, let alone an entity that you can interact with? Didn't think of that now, did you?
Right, so anyway, the way this particular puzzle works is that there are little gems, and you have to make these connections. But you can only do it based on what color they are. So, like, the orange has to connect to the orange, and the blue has to connect to the blue, yada yada yada, and you have to finish the whole thing in the time limit. It is not exactly thrilling.
I wouldn't call it a puzzle either.
Yeah, and it seems much more complex than it actually is. It's basically, there are... Each connection is one node to one other node, but every given connection can only be made like half the time, and it phases in and out of them being visible. It just uses all the different colours to obfuscate the fact that it is basically just a stop-and-go puzzle.
And they even show you the solution, so there's no like actual figuring out.
And you know, in the typical pretentious JRPG style, all of these completed puzzles are actually supposed to look like something.
Yeah, they're supposed to look like the monsters that we have.
One actual, like, good game design decision in that puzzle is the fact that when you make a connection, all of the crystals will immediately cycle to their next bunch of colours. Which is good, because generally no 2 consecutive paths are available in the same phase. So, you know, that's one microscopic bit of credit that they're actually due.
And of course, it's not Oerba if we don't have a whole bunch of fucking Seeds to fight.
So, are we broken yet?
Sort of.
I mean, I know we're in a kind of uncommonly good spot because we have, you know, a pulse work, whatever, and a fucking behemoth.
Yeah, well, right now this is... It's not as bad as it could be because I haven't gone and gotten the materials to level up the behemoth yet, but we're getting there. we're getting there pretty quickly.
Yeah, so we're basically holding back, really.
That's a very nice costume too.
Yeah, the Knowles Assassin's Creed outfit is really good. Probably his best one, honestly.
It helps that that particular iteration of Assassin's Creed outfit is pretty likeable in and of its own. So... Anyway, lyrics. I almost like this track.
This is one of the better ones, yeah.
It's like, not quite as abjectly silly.
I like when the games get silly. Better than when it tries to be serious.
There's, you know, as I think people have been quite correctly bringing up, there's silly that works and silly that just kind of falls flat because it doesn't realise how silly it is. And some of this stuff, like, I get the impression that somebody really thought that it was like deep and thought-provoking, and some of it just manages to successfully come across as, ha, this is funny, laugh at this thing. We know we're being silly, and you do too. But of course we'll get to that part in due course. And then you've got stuff like the music for this area, which I don't think it's as clever as they think it is, but it works.
I mean, they're trying to be... I don't want to say pretentious, but like, they're trying to tell the story with the lyrics, and it almost works.
Yeah, it's like one of the reasons that I think this track works is because it doesn't immediately fall apart if you actually stop and listen to what the lyrics are saying. Unlike some of the other stuff which is just like sounds about right, but then you listen to the words and it turns into nonsense. But this is actually coherent and uses vaguely correct English. And yeah. I think I made a big post and I made a post in the thread about lyrics and tune and meter. And the game is pretty good about sticking to that, and when it manages to not fuck everything else up, the music works. It works quite well.
I also think it works when it doesn't have sensible lyrics, for the most part.
Oh, that's a slippery slope to go down.
Oh, there are bits with nonsensical lyrics that work, I'll give you that much. But they don't work for the same reason that, say, this bit works.
Sure.
So yeah, we can't actually go into Vanille's room anymore. And there are just a couple Bhaktis just kind of running around. And plus there's a beach area that we'll see later on, so this is probably an earlier version of Oerba that didn't quite make the cut to the final version of 13.
In other words, it's perfect material for this game. No, we're never gonna let that go.
So how many of these are there here?
This one is 2 puzzles.
Oh yeah, like God help you if you think that you're gonna be able to just waltz into these and solve one puzzle and get out.
Yeah.
So you will notice that we have employed the humble playback speed option. Because really, who the fuck would want to even watch this? Let alone actually sit through and play it.
Yeah, this one is 2, and then the next one is 3.
So fortunately, if you know how to like actually approach them from anything even resembling a vaguely efficient method, these things can be over quite fast. Like it's this one and the labyrinth one. Once you figure out what you're doing, you can just blaze through them, and it's not that big a problem. I just wish the same could be said of the third puzzle.
Oh, we don't talk about the third puzzle.
Yeah, that thing.
So,
And just for reference, this area is closed off too.
yeah. Right, so, we showed up in a different place, like 190 whatever years into the future, and we're just going around basically ticking puzzle boxes.
Oh yeah, why are we actually here?
Yeah, did I miss the part where they explained how or why this was going to help, or what it was going to change, or how it links to the stuff that the recap didn't tell us about?
Absolutely not. The game doesn't even pretend to have an explanation as for why going 190 years in the future is going to solve our problem back in the Ashes Massif.
Oh well. Yeah, in case you haven't been getting it, this is about the point where the game's, well, what passes for the game's sense of coherence so far totally falls the rest of the way apart. I say that implying that the game had anything resembling coherence from the get-go, but it kind of did, a little bit.
It works, like, up through Brescia Ruins, it's not bad.
Yeah, there were at least 15 minutes in the middle somewhere of what we've seen.
Up through Brescia Ruins, it's not bad, and then you jump to Yasha's Massif, and it's not too bad. It seems to at least flow well enough, and then you start getting the, oh, well, we're going to jump 200 years in the future for poorly explained reasons, and that's kind of the point where it just stops pretending to have any sense of anything, really.
Yeah. As in, I first time I played through this, I kind of liked where I thought it was going, and as I kind of said in some of the earlier videos, where I thought it was going to be.
What the hell was that? A cube?
Oh, that was the bomb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I thought that the whole thing with paradoxes and stuff that shouldn't be here was actually going to be a gameplay element. God help me.
Yeah, they could have done something interesting with it. They just didn't.
And I thought there was going to be something resembling, actual. Well, I don't want to say study, but acknowledgement of the implications of a plot where you just randomly jump back and forth through time, changing stuff.
Right on schedule.
Like, I could once again invoke the sacred name of Chrono Trigger here. There's no point where you just, go back however many years in the past and leave something in a place and come back in the future and it's still there. There's nothing like that. Like, Chrono Trigger had a whole game mechanic where there were these boxes that existed in the same place in multiple times. And if you opened them in the past, they would be empty in the future. But you could open them in the future and then go back to the past and open them again, and they'd actually have better stuff. Well, actually, that wasn't particularly well explained either, but the point was...
It wasn't, but yeah, it is a mechanic.
Yeah. There was an actual acknowledgement of the actual playable part of the game, the bit that you interact with like, your brain, of the plot. And that was a good thing. That might possibly have even been one of the reasons why people kinda like Chrono Trigger. And then we have this game.
Yeah, this game doesn't even attempt to do anything quite like that.
I'm trying to think of an example of a use of time travel in the plot of this game, rather than just a thing that you do to get from story beats to the other story beats, but I'm kind of drawing a blank.
I think there's one near the very end, but I'm not sure. Been a while. And yeah, really, as much as people and we here complain about this, I like parts of this game. I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not without bits that do actually work. It's one of those games where, from a certain perspective, it makes sense. Bits of it make sense. If you can see and sympathize with what they were kind of sort of dancing around, it can seem a lot less like a terrible game. Unfortunately, I am cursed with a total inability to like things that I figured out good reasons to hate, so...
I think at the very least it was a very nice change of pace after 13's corridor.
Oh yeah, no, that's not in question. But that doesn't make it good in and of itself.
Like, it's not straight up walking down the line. It doesn't drip feed you tiny portions of battle system for like 25 consecutive hours. It just dumps most of the whole thing on you, and progresses in a way that A, makes sense, B, like, actually introduces new elements in a sensible order, and C, actually gets to the fucking point in something resembling speedy.
I guess I just wish it was a bit tighter on the gameplay side.
It looks like an
Maybe an
Oerba
actual
line.
difficulty curve.
Shh, the plot is here now.
I wouldn't want to speak over anything. If I did that, somebody might miss, like, the part where they explain anything. Which exists. Totally.
Alright, so up until this point, the game has been it's been pretty lighthearted. I mean, we have all those fun conversations about how Noel is totally bothered by the Moogle. This is where that ends. This is the point at which the game makes it very, very clear that you are expected to take the story just as seriously as it is.
This is a story about deep emotional trauma, man.
We got a wedding to plan, right?
You gotta be in the right mindset, otherwise you won't appreciate what this game is trying to say.
What do you say? Lightning, I swear to you.
Didn't we already see this cutscene at some point?
Yes, we did.
I believe you.
I mean, in this game as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, obviously it's the ending to Final Fantasy XIII, so... This time you don't even have Leona Lewis to distract you from it. So yeah.
Prophecy. It's been changed.
What?
That's impossible.
I don't think it's been
If you
changed.
change the future, you change the past.
Ah, there it is.
Oh, Caius.
Change is the constant.
Final Fantasy XIII-2.tx fucking T. But I don't mind because Caius is the one telling me about it.
Caius.
I have seen you. I have seen you both.
Also, Caius' theme has Latin lyrics.
You.
Of course it does.
You mean this
Still pretty awesome though.
I am not the you know.
Okay.
So this is Yule, but not Noel's Yule.
You must understand, there are many Yules.
Tell me more, Caius.
I saw you. My sister was fighting you.
What are you doing here in this?
Shut up and let him talk.
I learned of your journey, leaping back and forth along the timeline. Yule has been watching everything you do.
God, I love it.
She's been watching us.
Yes, I see you understand the significance of that.
Okay, but
Then you must
seriously though,
understand that I am
this is the point, like, where the game starts actually letting on a number of the things that it believes about its plot. Chief among which was that interesting approach to causality
Sanctions.
that we just heard
I
about.
must protect the sanctity of the timeline.
Right, so let's talk about Caius real quick. Caius is a motherfucker.
Oh yeah. He can fuck your shit up. Like, he's actually difficult.
Yeah, like he is one of the few things in this game that is consistently able to kick your shit in, no matter how overpowered you are.
Which is actually kind of impressive, because I don't think he actually cheats and levels up with you. Although, there's one kind of thing that we'll talk about later, but that's still not really cheating in the same sense, like, it's not like Mario Kart leveling up.
So, aside from his 5-hit combo, which is not too bad, it does about 250 damage or so, the big thing you gotta watch out for is Blast Wave, because that will hit everybody in a line. and you say regardless of whether or not it goes through, and that can do a pretty hefty chunk of damage.
And is this one of those times where you totally lament the total inability to actually move your guys around? Like, stand behind the Sentinel when he casts a spell that hits in a straight line. Strategy.
Another quick thing we saw earlier, the Eye of Bahamut, that will remove all of the buffs from somebody.
I can still fight.
Yeah, that sounds irritating.
Thankfully, because of the Pulse Knight is our dutiful Sentinel, he is eating most of the bullshit here, but suffice to say that if you do not have somebody keeping him busy, he will happily just run roughshod right over you.
Like I said, Caius' theme is actually good. I like it.
Alright, now here is where things get nasty. Body and Soul is a free Bravery, Faith, and Renew on him.
Regen, please.
Regen, I'm sorry. But yeah, you do not want him having Bravery and Faith, because he will do that. And when he has Body and Soul up, Blast Wave goes in 3 directions. It will hit your entire party, and it will do about 300 or 400 damage.
You'll also notice that his regen is actually permanent. You can't get rid of it, and also that means that he's now, like, just definitively immune to poison. So that's nice. Fortunately, we have him staggered.
I like how they clearly don't even pretend that you can kill him with that automatic revive icon.
We haven't actually talked about that one yet, but yes, that first icon, that is auto life.
Yeah, I've kind of got to hand it to them here. They did actually acknowledge a plot mechanic in a game mechanic. Sort of. I mean, it's not really a game mechanic, because he's the only one who can do it, but, you know. There's probably a word for this, well, a phrase for this sort of thing, of which one of the words is ludonarrative.
You shall pay for your crimes in blood.
So yeah, here is a fun fact about Caius. According to the game's writers and developers, Caius is, canonically, the strongest, bestest, most awesomest ever Final Fantasy villain.
Of course he is.
Straight from the game developers' mouths, Caius can totally take Sephiroth and Kafka and Kuja and Seymour and all of those useless, weak motherfuckers. Caius will destroy them all. Like, this isn't even a stupid fan argument, this is the game's directors have come out and said this.
What do you even say to that?
Of course, they probably think that the only one who can challenge him is Lightning.
Well, that's sure what they're implying in the opening cutscene.
And in one of the DLCs.
Future, you change the past. You can remold history as your heart desires.
Let's go now, before you are
Like, I'm inclined to make a somewhat serious point about this whole thing with the future affecting the past, and how it could totally be made into a plot element that doesn't suck. But if I did that, I would have to speak seriously about Virtue's Last Reward. And I'm not falling for that.
So yeah, the game is at this point dropping some very, very heavy hints that changing the timeline is a very bad thing.
You say hints.
Right. You say hints is probably giving it too much credit. It is outright, at least according to Caius, at any rate, changing the timeline is a very bad thing, and is enough of a sin that he is willing to kill us for it.
Repeatedly, across time. That said, how does the future affecting the past factor into his plans? I mean, if he kills us in the future, are we also going to die in the past? But does that mean that if he kills us in the past, we're actually still alive in the future because he hasn't changed the future to change the past?
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't think of that, did he?
Of course. We would never really sell it.
I can't tell whether the ability to say completely stupid immersion, well, I don't want to say immersion breaking, but like, you know, stupid shit in dialogue choices right after serious plot cutscenes was a deliberate decision or just kind of an accident.
It certainly does not lend it any, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Credence?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for.
Doesn't really lend it much of anything. This is not a story with a good credit rating for these things.
So did we just really go into here just to go into another time portal?
Same voice.
Well, we came here to clear the paradox back in Yasha's Massive. So now that we've done that, theoretically, the eclipse is gone, and we can view that Oracle drive without any problems.
Yeah, but why do we have to go through another time gate?
Yeah, could we go back and do that after we solve the puzzles? Do we actually have to, like, not murder Caius in order to get back?
What's that? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Also, good work, Sarah.
I wasn't either.
See, it's funny because now the narrative of the game is reflecting the narrative of the Let's Play.
Lightning.
See, now that's good game design.
Oerba.
But for real though, could we have, like, gone back to Yasha's Massive
We found a promise.
after just clearing up all the paradoxes, or does it somehow not work
We saw your
until you fight Caius?
Oh, absolutely not. No, that eclipse will always be there in that time period.
The man you were
Oh
fighting
right,
might be
yeah. But could we
I guess what worries
go
me
back and advance the plot, having only solved the paradox?
sadder than I've ever seen him.
No, because, again, that eclipse is always there, regardless of whether or not you've solved this paradox. So you have to beat Caius to get the artifact to unlock a... You'll see in a second. You'll see in a second.
Ah, right, I remember it, and it's even dumber than I was implying that it actually was.
I remember that now too.
When Noel and I solved
Yeah.
the paradox, we changed the future.
If what we're saying sounds nonsensical, it will be explained for a given value of explained quite soon.
It did make some sort of sense on the gameplay side, but apart from that...
So yeah, here's what happened. We did not actually solve the paradox by, like, solving the puzzles. We just beat Caius, and he dropped an artifact that lets us go to a timeline where the paradox never happened. Final Fantasy XIII-2 TX fucking T.